thank you for making it back to State Farm Analyst Desk for our final game of the day. Splyce versus Isurus Gaming. This is a potential fight for first place. In actual fact, this is the fight for first place, at least at the end of today. Look, let's start with Splyce. 26.5-minute victory. They came out the gate swinging and they crushed earlier today.
It was a very dominant start of plans for Splyce. In all honesty, I thought they got a super strong draft and also pulled out some nice new picks inside of the jungle. We all know Xerxe as this innovator in the jungle, pulling out the Warwick, the Rumble in the jungle in the past, the Ivern, the Trundle even was one of the first players to bring that out. Today it was the Hecarim, and after listening to that interview, maybe something we see from him in the future, but this was a solid game one from him.
Yeah, it certainly was, and whilst that's new, I also like when players remember the old counters. A blind pick Gnar came out. AP Echo has always done well into that. Xayah gets a good lane matchup, and I think that is a great recipe for Splyce to be able to solidify the top side of the map and allow the bottom side to take over.
Yeah, the AP cannon, not the Echo small misspeak there, but yes, it was the point you were talking about. And despite one or two small bad engages by Xayah early on, it didn't really matter, right? At the end of the day, Splyce very clearly showed that they were the stronger team.
Absolutely.
They had a fantastic performance, and now they're looking to take down Isurus. And if I go all the way back to Countdown,
I don't think we should.
What was the wording, Ender? Was it something like, Isurus Gaming will top the group?
Yeah, and I think it was Spawn might have said that, if I remember, because I didn't say that.
So let me check the producers.
I think I said Splyce would get first.
Yeah, actually my producers are saying that Spawn would be wrong and that wasn't. So what's happening?
I honestly don't know, is the big thing, because when I look at this Isurus Gaming lineup, they kind of have all the recipes for international success. They have the older players that should be able to keep the level head. They have the young, you know, maybe cocky carries that should be able to step up on the international stage. And what we saw was a very nervous, shaky performance against Dead FM. Sure, they got it done. They did get the win, but that was certainly not the Isurus Gaming that I was expecting to roll into Worlds 2019.
And we got this sort of an ability to measure these two teams, right? When Splyce came in and took care of Dead FM, this game was so different. It was close, it was long, it was grueling, and honestly, it felt like a couple better moves from Dead FM, and they're the ones coming out on top. It really was just in these late game moments. I think Warangelus specifically stepping up to carry it around.
Out of all the games we've seen today, this game was the one that had the most mistakes and the most misplays. And I think something that Spawn, you were talking a lot about, was some of the pressure on the players. Limited number of games to perform, very strong opposition, and actually on both sides of the rift, some issues. Now, at the end of the day, Isurus did win. That was the expected result, but they need to clean that play up if they want to challenge Splyce.
Yeah, especially kind of the two Latin American North stars in Oddie and Seiya. You know, that turret dive botched on the bottom lane when they were trying to take down Xerxe. Just some uncharacteristic moments, but I think it is rather easy to shake them off if you win. If you had lost that game, you feel much worse than you do. You just scrape by with the win, and now you just put all of your attention on Splyce.
And I still saw some of those like team fundamentals, right? Like specifically Seiya and Warangelus picking up so much more CS than their opposition, playing all three lanes of the map and taking away jungle camps. They still have those down, which are the good things to actually see. And when it's mechanical issues being the more problematic, the more obvious ones, I think those are the easier ones to readjust.
We've spoken a lot about Warangelus and how, you know, we kind of came in, we were anticipating Seiya to be the pop-off guy, and in the first victory, it was Warangelus that really impressed. Now he's coming up against Kobbe on home soil in the home studio. So Spawn, what's going to be key to this matchup, and then towards who's going to win the game?
Yeah, and I think the big thing about Kobbe is that he is really unassuming when he takes over a game. Before you know it, he's just the person that is like answering all the teamfight damage. His positioning is really, really nice. That big play that came out of Dead FM that looked like it might turn the game, he kept himself safe in the backline. So I think it's just about doing the small things right and not allowing this game to get ahead of you. Keep it on your terms, slow the pace down, and just be Mr. Consistent, because that's all you need to be to get through this play-in stage.
Closing thoughts in the last minute there, Ender.
I mean, I'm just going to say that I think the 2v2 is something you do also have to consider, and as long as Norskeren is on a comfortable, engaged type champion, and the laning phase doesn't get out of hand, I'm always going to favor Kobbe in the late game.
All right, will Isurus win this game?
No.
No.
Let's see who goes undefeated on day one. We'll leave it to Atlas and Egypt.
Thank you very much, Quickshot, and who we are for the final game of the day. Splyce looking utterly dominant, and Isurus a little bit questionable, despite the fact that they were able to take down Dead FM with a pretty good composition in a late game with a composition that didn't necessarily look like it should have been able to. So that probably works in their favor. But like Jake said, they looked nervous.
Yeah, I agree with what a lot that they were saying in the analysis desk, right? I think nervous is a very good way to describe it. It did look like an uncharacteristic game. And the big thing for me is not even just like this game here, how like Plains is going to progress at the end of the day. Like Group 1, very even, Clutch now kind of solidifying themselves, like getting back on track. But Group 2 so far, like Dead FM, looking a little bit rough. But can Isurus like stay equal? Because Splyce was super dominant. They smacked Dead FM. The Nocturne comp definitely didn't work. It was super rough. By like 15, 20 minutes, they had enough of an advantage and they were playing cleanly enough. You're like, yeah, okay, like this game is going to be theirs. It's just a matter of time when they can close that one out. Like, does Isurus stand more of a chance, or do Splyce cement themselves as top dogs?
And also, can Isurus start something off more early than they did in game number 1, or the first game that they played here in game 4? Splyce going to start off though. Cat on a book is going to be banned away here as we hop into Champion Select, and the Qiyana going to be the answer on the red side here from Isurus. Crocodiles also not allowed.
Yuumi is kind of an interesting one. Heading into Worlds, it's like how impactful were the nerfs? You went from an 80% slow at max rank to just flat 20 at everything.
Yeah.
Is it going to be enough? Obviously, still pairs very well with the likes of an Ezreal. A Lucian can be an oppressive lane, but in terms of late game, the slow just isn't as impactful as it once was. But Splyce on the blue side feeling necessary to ban that one away from slow on the bottom side for Isurus.
Well, Xayah going to come in once again here for Kobbe. Looked great on it earlier on in the day, and we'll just hop back to it. Very, very safe. Certainly something that he can make use of here, just like in any composition that Splyce want to put together. I can certainly respect it. As Isurus, I want to see a change up of how they attack this draft. Rumble, very strong at the moment, has been left open here in this particular pick ban.
So is GP.
Yeah, and he's going to be locked in. Buggax going to grab that one for himself.
We've already seen
Wukong, of course.
Yeah, the classic. We've already seen him played today. Zach would be an interesting one, but GP is kind of like one of the most blind pickable top laners. The matchups aren't that bad. You scale incredibly well. Do kind of put this target on your head where the team opposing you feels like they need to do something to take you down, but Grasp just keeps you up. Oranges, everything is fine up there. This may just be the classic Xayah Rakan into Nautilus and Kai'Sa sort of bot lane matchup if everything does go to plan.
One of my favorite lock-ins here on this side is the Rakan and something like a Elise or something like that. But when you've got Vizicsacsi, who does have that shallow champion pool that he's known for, it is the Gnar that's going to be locked in with Gangplank taken away from him. Decides he doesn't want to head towards the cannon this time, and it is going to be his ever so comfortable Gnar up there. But Gangplank doesn't do badly in this matchup.
Yeah, can be kind of troublesome, I believe. I think Gnar, like especially for Vizicsacsi, like that is a good choice. Like comfortable champions, he's played the Kennen, he's now played the Gnar there. Those guys aren't at like the height of the meta. A bunch of play-in teams, especially in this group with Dead FM and Splyce, have some of the highest Gnar prio than any other teams kind of at Worlds just in general. So you do expect it to see it here today, as the expected lock-in of Nautilus was there. But yeah, super standard stuff from both of these teams so far. Nothing super unexpected just yet.
Yeah, not any flexible champions also thrown out. I guess in theory it's Nautilus that could be put in a solo lane if you want to, but unlikely. And so everything going, like you've got Gangplank versus the Gnar, and you've got the bottom lanes there. So junglers and mid laners for both sides.
Yeah, and you mentioned the flex, and I want to kind of harken into that point just a little bit more. Red side Isurus, they're a team that domestically Warangelus used to be a mid laner. Seiya, really big champion pool. I mentioned it earlier.
He played top and mid and mid and AD professionally.
Top laner, played like 18 champions with a max of like 2 games per champion, right? Like that's 2 games, that's it, over the course of a season. So 5th pick red side makes like flexes super troublesome. Obviously, this won't necessarily be the case here, but options are kind of always open here for Isurus as they look for the next lock-in.
Yep, Cassiopeia going to be banned away. Of course, Warangelus does like to head towards that one ever so slightly when he has the opportunity to get on an AP champion.
Ooh.
Elise in, picked up for Oddie, an old favorite for from him from back well back in the day, man. I'm thinking back to like 2016. You know, you were playing in the tournament that he was destroying people on the Lee Sin with.
And I've always said, like, League of Legends is good when Lee Sin is in the meta and Thresher in the meta. Like, those champions are just fun, skill expression all over the place. Like, the champions surrounding it in that sort of place are super enticing to watch. LeBlanc, exactly the same sort of situation here.
Yeah, Humanoid's LeBlanc is going to be picked up, looking like a really standard comp here from Splyce. But a whole lot of different tools and a whole lot of flexibility, as that was a volley bear. Don't know where that one would have been. Jungle volley bear, you reckon?
He's just a brawlers player.
Yeah, it does seem like a brawlers player. We're going wilds now, as Jarvan would be the ultimate tier list choice here for this composition. Jarvan and Gnar have been best friends for a really long time, and they've set up a team fighting front-to-back composition that is extraordinarily standard, and it will be answered by the Lissandra. Pretty, you know, it's been common in the past to pick the Lissandra into the LeBlanc, but it's been falling out of favor.
Yeah, and talk about this game in, like, different respects. You look at Splyce, they have 1, 2, 3, like, dive forward engage tools, and then you have the double response here from Isurus. With that, the list lock-in, yes, LeBlanc matchup just in general, like, that is good in isolation, but then if your Rakan is diving in, Gnar, Jarvan, all the same, and then you drop Liss ulti, GP ulti, you have Nautilus in the middle, you have GP kicking people back. There's so much disengage here, so very interesting sort of matchup here too. Relatively slow teams, and Splyce gonna have to take it to them early.
Yeah, and Splyce taking it to any team early isn't necessarily something that we expect from this squad. That being said, I mean, if you're talking about scaling, I think that both of these teams are going to be pretty happy just moving towards later stages of the game. I want to see more from Isurus as far as clean play, deliberate play in the early game. They can't have their shaky style that they had in their first outing in game number 4. It needs to be tidied up against Splyce.
And think about exactly what Jake was saying, right? Like the, or Spawn, I should say. The dives in the bottom lane. Like, you're being punished by a Karma. Like, that doesn't feel that bad. But if in this game you're messing up dives, you're being punished by the likes of a LeBlanc, like, that is just game-ending territory. Like, she gets so much freedom. She runs over the top of you. You're giving kills to Kobbe, like a big AD carry in Europe, the star of this team right now. Like, the fallback mechanism is get to team fights. This guy will win. If you're giving kills to these players on these champions, like they were previously, it could be a recipe for disaster.
Well, let's see how it goes. Splyce versus Isurus. Our final game of day 1 of the World's Play-ins is underway now. Let's see whether Splyce can go 2-0. or whether it's going to be Isurus Gaming that get that perfect scoreline. Xerxe already in position here, as this is a matchup in the jungle that we've been seeing year after year after year.
Flags the bush. Looking for some early shenanigans, but it's going to be the 5-point fan here. You can see Norskeren goes for the kind of new age support option where you start with the ward, you go place that one dot bush, you get yourself a sweeper as he picks that one up. Bush control in this sort of matchup where engages can come swift and fast, and the AD carries don't really have responses, right? If a hook lands onto Kobbe's Xayah, that can be a really bad time, but if a knock-up lands onto Warangelus' Xayah, the same can be said. So going for a very early sweeper on Norskeren's side should give them a little bit more control of those bushes and grant somewhat more of those opportunities. You would expect, at least early, pre-6, the Xayah Rakan to be able to look for things if they want to.
Yep, and we'll see whether this Xayah Nautilus bottom lane falls into the same struggles that Mammoth had as well, with Splyce being able to potentially play around it. I think that the tools on Splyce's side aren't necessarily as good for utilizing that. So we'll see whether Warangelus will have a higher damage per minute score than that of King.
Ooh. Red buff. Does he turn left or right? I reckon he turned right.
I reckon he's coming down.
I reckon he's prepped. Norskeren on a ward, does not know.
I want this level 2 gank to happen.
So, is it on the range minion? He's going to auto it.
Yep, here we go. There's the flash forward. Gets the flash in trade, though, as the dredge line goes completely wide. Yeah. That is probably a blessing in disguise. Don't know whether he wanted to go in on that one, despite having the Aftershock available.
Ooh, you can see the stutter step there from Xerxe, though. He walked up, saw the blue was missing, and was like, okay, it's already gone. Realized on the minimap it was actually being taken, but... Okay, Oddie's not going to opt in for the map split. That's very often what you see with an early gank. The other jungler just like opts in for the trade, completely split the map, but that is certainly not going to be the case. But that did take a fairly long time, right? Like in terms of level 2 ganks Normally it's red buff, walk bot immediately, let's just flash, let's go, because I don't have time to waste on my first clear. That's not necessarily the case, and I don't think Xerxe is going to be super punished in this matchup, but certainly something to note.
Yep, and we had a look down towards the bottom side of the map. We're feeling like that matchup relatively even. They're probably just going to farm things out. If we have a look to the solos, though, I feel like Isurus Gaming have probably got pretty decent time on their hands, right? Lissandra was picked into the LeBlanc, has always theoretically been a decent matchup with the Ring of Frost, interaction with the Distortion if ever it's used.
Oh.
But here we've got a fight starting here on the bottom side. Oddie gets in with the safeguard. Grand Entrance gets Norskeren out. But the flash forward misses the Q. And now Oddie has to limp away. Oh no.
Disastrous there from Oddie. Very nicely timed stutter step. That's a flash.
Gets the passive. Buggax is burning him down. Waiting for another parlay. Can he get there? Needs to stay in range and gets the first blood. Solo kill for the Gangplank top lane.
Can he live from the Jarvan? The ward in the bush barrel will give him some movement speed. Dodges the flag drag.
Yeah, is able to slow him down quite a lot there as well. Gets a flash out of Xerxe. That's definitely good news. As
Can he juke it?
I don't think he's
Can he juke? He can juke it!
Gets out the way. Flag pops him on the skull. Oh no! He'd done everything right until he didn't. As Norskeren goes down to below 200 health. But they do back away. An exciting early game so far.
Exactly what we haven't seen to get the casting the first day of play-ins. Oddie now in the mid lane. Seiya can set this up, but okay, they just want the shove.
Yep, going to be shoving the wave out. Baited a little bit by all the action earlier on. They are going to deal with that minion wave very comfortably, and we'll get Lissandra back home. Vizicsacsi has found his way back up top, but let's have a look at how this all started.
Yeah, the wave's super big, but Buggax just does not care. Scorch ticking down. You see the blue tree secondary and the parlay at the back end. And he played this just about as well as he could, right? At the end of the day, it was the flag, bonked him on the head, dodges out from the first one, zooms away, also sneaks in the auto attack, gets the passive ticking away there, and TP from the Gnar gets himself back. That was super nice, and honestly, we'll call that one unlucky. That's the harder one to dodge. You kind of just point and click on the head, but
I feel like he could have almost
that
outranged it, but look, hindsight's 20/20 and all that sort of stuff. As Splyce now just trying to gather it all back up again, and as the dust settles, we've got 100 gold lead, so nothing to happen here on either side, and we'll need more from both of these teams.
And I think gathering our thoughts is important. The Gnar was locked into the GP, right? And we've now just seen Vizicsacsi get straight up solo killed without jungle attention. Like, the response was there very reactively, but unfortunately the matchup not going his way. Of course, the solo kill came as the wave was dying, so you expect GP right now to be down in CS. And the bottom lane gank was almost turned around. You saw the 2 versus 2. Actually getting pretty frisky down there. The flash is gone from Norskeren, a heal from Kobbe. Similar sort of situation there on the other side, so both of these teams certainly coming out swinging in this one, only 5 minutes into the game.
Yep, interested to see what Warangelus can do on this Kai'Sa this time. He was so good on the Ezreal, was able to save this team on that pickup, and we know what Kai'Sa can do after she gets a few of those evolutions and a few of those items. And see how this matchup works. Seiya has Aftershock and presses W when Humanoid presses W.
Cues you in the head. That was level 5 to level 6, but yeah, the resists there kind of just denying everything LeBlanc wants to do. Bottom lane receiving a bunch of attention, but cheeky pink ward.
Oddie trying to outrange it here. Hasn't actually popped into vision, as you can see.
Burnt an E from Norskeren, so only has 1 dash available in the W if they can find the engage right now.
I thought Oddie might have been able to get a sneaky little safeguard over a wall or something like that, but instead is just going to clear out the control ward as Seiya. Okay, chains connect, but the claw is pretty good.
Yeah, I think the big problem is that's like a hard commit. They have no vision on Xerxe. They have no idea where he is on the map. Ultimately, God view, he was just resetting topside. Oddie could have gone for like the deep flank, like the ward hop over the wall, just commit behind, but not willing to risk it all.
Yeah, slow now without the Aftershock. Does take some real damage, but gets himself to safety comfortably, and it's all going to be fine. Kobbe and Norskeren just hold on to these minions to try and keep the minion wave on their side of the map very, very easily. Oddie now gets himself towards this red buff and finds it with a Sonic Wave. Xerxe already there. And it looks like Oddie doesn't want to go for this 1v1.
Yes. Super difficult with LeBlanc in the position she is right now. Seiya would be super long rotation away between a pink ward, but actually went in for the play, didn't get the steal.
Yeah, wasn't able to, and another flag is going to come down. Now Humanoid looking for flashes to try and get the chain. Looks to offer some damage back because he can't do anything else, and Norskeren is going to grab that kill.
And that is exactly it. Seiya underneath his turret, 0 mana, no contest, and Humanoid commits to the play, now opening up the opportunity to get themselves an Ocean Dragon. We've had
How many of these damn Ocean Drakes do we need?
This is the 7th one we've had so far in the last 3 games, and Splyce, they're just going to claim it.
That's the maximum amount of Ocean Drakes we could possibly have at this point in the game.
That is true.
That's insane. Okay, so next one is going to be an Infernal Drake, and maybe that is a sign of the tides turning. Potentially, fingers crossed.
I will say, as we kind of cheekily take a look into the top side, Vizicsacsi's clawing his way back into this one. You expect, after what happened in the early phases, the matchup to not be sitting in this position, but...
Yeah, Wallop comes in, and Buggax is going to eat some oranges a little bit too late.
CS lead there. Gold lead, of course. Got to be there for the GP. Got the doubloons. Doesn't have the klepto. Got himself the grass for the matchup. And now Oddie looking to shepherd his top lane through this one. Gank opportunity now. Mini Gnar. No rage to be seen. So Vizicsacsi not tanky at all.
And Control Ward is there in that brush, which is exactly why Oddie didn't feel like he was able to get in there. Can't sneak in towards the top brush either, as now Vizicsacsi down to about 300, but offering back about as good as he gets. That's the Mimic Chain coming in onto Seiya there, and you can have Aftershock as much as you want. It's still going to do a fair bit of damage there to you.
And yeah, in a rough spot right now. Seiya does have the TP, but Wave going to be crashing in. You can see bot lane Prior wrestled back from Splyce. Mid lane Prior has been in this way the entire game. And now blue buff being looked at. It looks like Isurus going to go for the contest here, though. Oddie still walking around in the area. Maybe looking for a pick onto Humanoid.
Yep, Seiya does land the ult, but instantly the cleanse comes out. Captain Jack-esque there from Humanoid as a dive towards the bottom side. It is a defensive cannon barrage, though, as Buggax is helping his team now. Svenskeren in a bit of trouble. He's burning down as slow, looking for the dredge line. On cooldown still. Can we find a Q? No, we can't. As Oddie lets that Sonic Wave go wide yet again. And no one dies, and that's good news for Isurus Gaming, but it could have been so much better.
Yeah, just straight into Narnia, splits the post, that's a goal. And no...
6 points, though, from where we're from.
Yeah, not bad. Good choice.
Yeah, easy. As Humanoid, speaking of which, is looking for a very low health Gangplank. This could be a comfortable one. Remember, there's no ultimate available.
Flash?
Decent flash, but the distortion is going to be there, and Humanoid locks down the kill. Splyce are coming. They are looking strong, and it's 1,500 gold, the lead here for the European squad.
The response on the other side, though, face check from Oddie.
Yeah, it's a troubled one as well, as Oddie does get himself out with the safeguard. It's all right. We can breathe. It's fine.
And you mentioned it. Cool, calm, collected looks Splyce right now. The top lane matchup, flipping on what we saw earlier. They go up to clean another couple of kills. They pick up Buggax underneath his turret. He also greeds out, burns the flash. So now Vizicsacsi in a decent spot, defending the dive at the same time. So that was a positive play for Splyce, and they also negate Isurus' trade. So things certainly trending in their direction. Gold lead in the bottom lane rather for Xayah. 10 CS advantage here for Kobbe. Certainly a good situation to be sitting in.
Yep, Vizicsacsi catches a huge minion wave here as well as we have a look. And the jungle's pretty full, so Xerxe are going to probably spend some time here towards the top side. We'll gather a blue buff over for Humanoid. Meanwhile, you've got a lot of vision actually for Splyce on the bottom side of the map. So Shelly not really being much of a question mark here, despite being on the map for a minute so far. We'll see whether we do get some switched sides of the map for our bottom lanes.
And I think the most important thing for me right now, 11 minutes into the game, this Liss matchup into LeBlanc. Humanoid just been sitting underneath his turret, distorting off cooldown, queuing him in the head, and every time Aftershock is there, you can get like a decent trade. But this is a matchup that's locked in so that Oddie can play around mid, look for a fight, rotate, dive a bottom lane or a top lane, right? And that just hasn't been the play. Isurus, their jungle attention has been bot side, it's been top side, helping out the side lanes, and Seiya's received very little attention, and now you're in this spot where Sork Boot's completed. Working on the first item is the LeBlanc, and Proto Belt means he can just kind of eat waves whenever he wants if he can get into that position, but really not what you expected here. Bot lane, though.
Yeah, that's the flag and drag. Cataclysm comes in there as well as Warangelus does pop the ultimate, gets himself to relative safety, but you can't say the same for Slow. He goes down Kobbe, grabs another one. That Q lands, but Oddie doesn't want it.
Yeah.
And Isurus Gaming are going to lose one and have no response.
What does that mean for Splyce? Actually continuing with the play here. Knockup is going to connect.
Yeah, it's a great one under Warangelus. Doesn't have a whole lot of buttons left, but the flash was still there. And now no more defensive choices. Going to have to play very defensively as Vizicsacsi still going aggressive onto Buggax as well. Throws a house at him, is going to miss that one, which is helpful for the Pirate.
But just take a look at the map. All 3 lanes just sitting underneath Isurus' turrets right now. Splyce have complete control. Matchups trending in their direction. Dragon on the cards, 10 seconds on the Infernal. They've already got themselves an Ocean, now setting up the vision line, pushing forwards in. And you see a level lead in the mid lane, a level lead in the jungle. Splyce certainly looking the goods right now.
Yep. And in one of the most comfortable compositions to look like it in as well. They've got almost all of the options when it comes to what they're going to do as this game moves forward. And a whole lot of late game powers. Humanoid decides to jump in onto 2 people. That's ambitious.
Interesting, yeah. Ambitious is a word.
Yeah.
Oddie face checks a Jarvan, gets the hell out of that one. Humanoid did have to burn the cleanse. So it's not for naught. Got something in the mid lane, but it's going to be a complete concede here for Isurus. No way ability to get into this one. You can see the vision control pinks on either side of the river. Nothing to be done about this one.
Yep, and that was the pinks that they prepared earlier as well, right? This is Splyce thinking a few steps ahead, making sure that every objective that they're going to be picking up is lined up in a row, and they get the vision there, they do their homework. Really nice stuff here from a Splyce that look like they're doing the work in the final game of the day. Isurus Gaming, it's not a game where you can sort of pander around in the early game, make a few errors, and then come out on top because you team fight better, right? Which is what they did against Detonation Focus Me. It's not the same when it's Splyce.
And team fighting is exactly what Splyce want to do. Like historically, team comp-wise, you look at the globals and ability to influence side lanes here for the GP, for the list. You really want to be attacking individuals and then rotating to the play, as I was mentioning. But yeah, Splyce are just steadfast right now. That's annoying.
That's how you stop it back. Do it again.
Little bonk on the back of the head.
I want him to do it again.
Ooh.
He's not going to.
Oh, and E-burnt.
Disaster. Well, speaking of disasters, Warangelus is here, does have the ultimate, is going to use it, but Norskeren knows exactly what's up, and Kobbe is going to be delivered on a silver platter. Yet another kill. 2-0 now on the Xayah. The rest of the team just making sure he's well-fed and comfortable in this game.
Yeah, and this bot side of the map continuing to be attacked. They get behind Isurus's bot lane, clean up the AD carry, going to take away a blue buff as well. We've seen so many blue steals today. Just alone. Oddie, whoop!
Yeah, what are you doing, Lance? All the distortions, the chains are in there as well. Flashes out of the way of Norskeren, but is going to survive for the moment. Seiya's there, protects his jungler. But that was too close for comfort. Another blue buff going to be stolen as Slow is holding on to this minion wave to try and give more gold over to Warangelus, but oh man, 5,000 gold is the lead here, and Splyce are not looking like they're letting up as there's the flash Gnar into the wall. Chachi's woken up, gets the solo kill onto the jungler, and Seiya says, well, it was nice to see you, but I'm going to pop out now, and you can feel free to go home. And he does just that.
0 mana, 0 ability to help out his jungler, and maybe a second turret to boot. They take bot side, they take blue buff and rotate towards the mid lane as well. Splyce, as you mentioned, 5k gold lead, super significant. Only 15 minutes into the game. This is certainly a one-sided affair so far.
Yeah, and we were talking about the fact that Splyce were using Vision to set up for their next objective, things like that. Shelly is still on the map, but they'd like to be going for a Baron at this stage. Feels like they've got that much control that is going to be the next look-in for them. Thankfully, there is something in Baron's house at the moment, and that is Shelly that's occupying the space. And despite the Rift Scuttler being there and available for the Vision for Isurus, it's still not going to be something that they have any right contesting. Oddie, no Dragon Rage kick just yet, as Isurus do move themselves up towards the mid lane, but nowhere near the Rift Herald, which can be used to break open one of these turrets, whichever one they would like.
Yeah, and I think something about this game in the current position, right? We're only on to day one, so maybe it's too early for this conversation, but in terms of like European seeds coming into this one, Splyce third behind, like a very dominant like G2 and Fnatic. There's like a clear 1-2, then Splyce.
Yep.
And if they look super dominant in their group, Isurus, one of the favorites of all the emerging regions, they look strong. They have a good performance here today, and they cement themselves, whereas like Clutch have faltered. This could be a very good sign here for Splyce, and I'm most interested in looking at how they close out this game, right? Like, is it going to be clean? Is there going to be missteps? About how do they cement themselves as a group's contender for Worlds, like the big event once they get out of the play-ins, and success rate and confidence in the current iteration of Splyce.
Yeah, and I think it's a really interesting point to bring up because we've already had to question a few of those things with how Clutch started, with the fact that Unicorns of Love were able to take them down and then lost to Mammoth, that group, completely even after day number 1 and everyone's faced each other. It's interesting to see how it is going to evolve, as Splyce are certainly looking like the dominant team in this game, but is that going to indicate anything when it comes to how everybody else matches up? Because we only get to see group play within these 4 groups. So tomorrow we're going to have a look in on the rest of them, and that's when we get to see where the Darmon are all they're hyped up to be as well. All heard the whisperings of how things have been going.
Spoiler alert, word on the street is yes.
Pretty good,
yeah. So we shall
By the way,
see.
that's LCK team.
Oh,
so
yeah.
if you're looking for a job, you know, certainly there is one going. Just have a look on Twitter. We can send you towards the application.
You're such a disgusting shill.
Happy to do it.
You're a corporate
Happy
schmuck.
to do it. It's the corporate that I love, though.
But that's
you know?
okay.
The corporation, sorry. A corporate isn't a noun.
10 seconds.
That's a comfortable gold graph there for Splyce.
Just a step ladder.
Yeah, this is Splyce coming online at 7.5 minutes, though. That's terrifying. That doesn't. That's not on brand.
Ooh,
Not at all.
blind.
Speaking of which, that's going to be an ult onto Norskeren as he gets himself out. Oddie down to about half health. The Cataclysm comes in, but already Isurus have got that first kill, traded immediately as Slow does go down. The feathers are retracted and Seiya is stunned up as Humanoid trying to get that poke damage in. Vizicsacsi turns up, but it might be a little bit too late. This Buggax is going to eat some oranges. He's going to be K, walks past the house. And he's just fine. And Splyce, they do go 1 for 1, but that probably feels good if you're Isurus.
Yeah, in creative play as well, completely blind. They had the setup. They knew they were walking in that direction, but Norskeren, no vision actually in the bush. Looking for that play, almost costs him the life, but actually takes down Oddie, grants access to this Infernal Dragon. So in a world of triple oceans every single game, a pre-20-minute double Infernal Dragon team with the likes of Xayah, Rakan. They've got the Jarvan. I mentioned the 1-2-3 combo of Rakan, Jarvan, Gnar over the top. That certainly feels good, and team fighting is where this team is comfortable. 20 minutes on the clock. Baron is spawning. Team fights are certainly on the cards here.
Yeah, and that's another Infernal Drake coming up as well. So gone are the opportunities for the triple ocean. Remember, guys, after this game, make sure you stick around. We've got the World's Countdown with Jap, Vedius, and Spawn, and this is the replay of Isurus Gaming finding the kill first. The Slow still fall. Yeah,
and unfortunately for Slow, at the end of the day, just a little Nautilus in a big bad world. He just dies in the river, but the trade from the solo laners is the big news story here from Isurus. The list, the GP, the damage is sort of getting there, especially the GP, but when it comes to comparison on the other side of the rift, this is now a crit AD carry sitting on 2 items, the Essence Reaver, the IE completed, whereas Xayah, Warangelus right now, not even completed his Gwynsus, doesn't have the transform on his Muramana, so he's a while away from relevant damage, and Splyce just spiking heavily right now.
Yeah, 20 minutes, and they just wander up to that outer turret in the mid lane. Not a lot that Isurus can actually do when this freight train's heading towards them. I really love this from Kobbe as well. It does have the Infinity Edge as item number 2. We've seen a lot of the rapid fire cannon coming in second, but I feel like this is a more powerful like 1-2 punch rather than needing to get to that last item, Infinity Edge, as far as those first 3 are concerned. So Kobbe going to be doing a hell of a lot of damage here in these upcoming fights if we are going to see them. So we crest 21 minutes.
I also think range-wise, like, he doesn't really need to invest very early in the rapid fire, right? Like, the rest of his team, as they're the ones with the gold lead right now, they want to be progressing the game. They're going to be forcing these fights. Like, a Jarvan and Gnar is going to buy so much space that, especially against this almost entirely melee range composition there from Isurus, right? Like, Liss super short, GP super short, Xayah, yes, is there, but Xayah will somewhat outrange in a team fight in terms of effective strength. So I like the decision here from Kobbe.
Yep. I don't think you need to worry really about Warangelus anyway. Theoretically, if it's a fight for a Kai'Sa, he's going to be diving into the backline, getting a heck load of damage with his Q and things like that, and then dancing around with the supercharger after the Killer Instinct.
Yeah. And now this is
how the things work, you know?
This is the most contentious part of this game for Splyce. How do they break the inner ring? It's very easy to break the outer ring of turrets. You just walk up, they get conceded because they don't want to fight for the objective. But do they want to force a Baron, force a team fight? They have the tanky stats. A lot of compositions in the current meta, it's like, okay, yes, we will kill a Baron very quickly, but also if they'll just kill us if we're tanking a Baron because we have no HP bar. So they have a Jarvan and Gnar to do that with, but they also have options in the side lane, and that's looking like the play for them right now. Humanoid just gets thrown bot, Vizicsacsi gets thrown top side. Now they're probably going to flip that up and do the opposite side of the map, but still same functionality and just play the map, play either sides of the Rift, the slower, safer play, and not risk a super big fight around the Baron.
Yep, and if they can get those minion waves into the positions that they want, then they can comfortably move towards a Baron play if they would like to. Fair bit of damage going to be available. The Zeal now completed for Kobbe, moving ever so slowly towards that third item completion, where it feels like Splyce will be able to just take whichever fight they feel like. 5,000 gold the lead. And Randuin's Omen now done for Vizicsacsi as well. And I like this build. I feel like it's halfway between that full tank Gnar that we saw in the previous game and a more damage-oriented Gnar. So going to be offering that extra damage augmentation to Kobbe.
This is like 3 shapeshifters now. And that was like 6 shapeshifters now. Too much HP.
Yeah, that's true. There's 6 shapeshifters now, like without a sorcerer buff or anything, giving anyone else damage. You know, that was our more recent one. As this one's got some, you know, some other stuff. It's good news. Humanoid just split pushing, like you say, up towards the top side. Up there because he's the one with the cleanse, as Kobbe does have to use the Feather Storm, but everyone's hit. There's the kick flash, and they move back forward. They've nailed down the AD carry, but can they still win the fight? Warangelus ults out at the nick of time to keep himself alive. He was burning down, but he's going to be safe for the moment, and Seiya claws his way towards this blue buff pit. Isurus Gaming still feeling like they're on the back foot, but they're the ones with the pick. Yeah,
very nice pick set up from them. Humanoid was just incredibly far away, and he still is. He's actually knocking on the door of the inhib if he sticks around after that wave, but they saw him top. They saw an opportunity. They get all of the summoners out of the entire bottom lane from Splyce. Ulti, the Featherstorm was not enough to keep him alive, and yes, they burnt some buttons of their own, not flash, leave flash, so opportunities cost there, but necessary pick to take down the Xayah, because looking at the AD carry comparison, we're still not at the transform mark, right? We're waiting on the Nashes for the Kai'Sa, but 50 CS deficit is Warangelus right now after a super strong performance in game number 1 is struggling here versus Kobbe.
Certainly is, and they had a brief moment where Kobbe was making their way back towards this Infernal Drake, but that moment has passed. Isurus are here, but I just don't think that they are going to have any chance to try and contest this. Already Xerxe has started it up. Isurus do have to concede a 3rd Infernal Drake. This composition with 3 Infernals, this is real rough.
It's not often you see the concede for the 3rd Infernal.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, they've got 2, I can't give them another one, and we'll just risk the game. Let's 5v5, like, let's go. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we have to do it, but...
I mean, the chances of you losing at this stage, you know, with 3 Infernals is real low, and Buggax, he knows that it's going to be really tough. Put in the Cataclysm, Vizicsacsi, he just wants to get some autos in. Look at that big nut trying to get the work done. He just wanders away. And in the meantime, Kobbe's down again. We found a dredge line. How did Buggax survive? That was ridiculous. Humanoid is going to be dead as well, and this might be the throw.
3 members walk into bottom lane, and he just runs away.
What?
Hits the W, hits the flash, hits the Nos, and just runs back to his base. And 2 picks on the other side. Is this a Baron opportunity? TP is coming from Vizicsacsi just to get some vision control down here. They have the relic of the pink ward, but Isurus out of nowhere find 2 picks, and they're just going to start this one up.
Yep, Xerxe is alive, so he can get there to try and contest. Seiya is going to come in with full health, full mana. On this Lissandra, he can ult Xerxe to stop him from getting his smite in range.
Chachi.
Isurus Gaming, they're committing to the Baron by the looks. Wallop is going to go wide, throwing houses into this pit as the quickness bunches them all up. A huge knock-up. It's a bouncy castle in the Baron pit, but Warangelus is off the back. He's off to the side. He's untouched, but now he's not in range to do damage. Buggax, are you going to be okay? And he is. No one's going to get the Baron today, but Splyce save their mishap from earlier.
3 versus 5, and they're able to claim the Baron pick back for themselves. Resets come through. Death time is gone, so map just resets across the play. Super close there. Baron goes over to Isurus. Like, this game is on a completely flipped head, but not going to be the case. Gnar was really like the big point of contention here. Like, does he have flash? Can he get a double bounce onto the back line, like the 99 rage double flip? 5-man combo. Actually waits for the support staff here. Norskeren comes in, gets the charm over multiple members, and yeah, you mentioned it. Kai'Sa over the wall just meant no damage, and okay.
Yep, Seiya going to ult himself to keep himself alive, but the Baron not going to be able to do that. It's just going to go down, and it's well shielded by Humanoid and Norskeren there as well. So things back on track.
Yeah.
Now for Splyce, feels like they had their clutch moment after that Baron steal in game number 5. It was not being able to lock down the kill on Buggax earlier towards the bottom side. And now it's all about moving towards victory here for the European 3rd seed. Should be pretty comfy as well. After a reset, they go back. They've got some really cool items. Kobbe's done with the first 3. The rest of them often feel a little bit like you don't really need them. And we've got a really sweet hat on Humanoid.
You got a really sweet, a really cool gun.
Yeah.
You got a really cool chest of armor in the hands of Jarvan.
Where's the gun? Who's got? Oh yeah, the gun.
The rapid fire. Yeah,
Kobbe's gun.
Yeah.
But like, look at the wizard. Humanoid is an actual wizard right now. He's even got an orb. You know those orbs that wizard has sometimes, and you don't really know what they do, but they look cool.
Take this scroll and stick it.
Yeah, something like that. And a cane, of course. You know, just a standard wizard situation. As Isurus now trying to work out where they're going to defend. Bottom lane inner turret, not going to be an option. Inner turret mid lane, also not an option.
Yeah. And the problem for Isurus in his current situation is wave clear is hard to come by, right? Like the champion super short range, GP will probably fare the best, but against triple Infernal, a single mistake is punishable immediately. And they kind of gave the Baron idea to Splyce, right? They'd spent the entire game playing the side lanes 1-3-1, not committing to anything. And as soon as Isurus go there, they kind of speed up the play, hit the accelerator, and Splyce now with Baron looking to break the base already.
Isurus look like they just don't have any idea of what to do, let alone going for anything. The inhibitor is going to fall without any response from the Latin American team. Buggax down towards the bottom side, wants to get barrels in position for wave clear, but he can't even do that as Vizicsacsi moving towards, once again, another inhibitor turret. Warangelus looking for some farm here, but it's not going to do it. I mean, stop farming. You need to stop your Nexus from just being passively destroyed by this European squad.
Yeah, 2 inhibs gone. Absolutely no contest, and Humanoid is just so annoying on this LeBlanc right now, right? Like sieging the bottom side, just queuing the backline, opening up space to just right-click the turret, and this has to be the defense. 2 inhibs down, 3 is unassailable, indefensible underneath the Nexus against the Baron buff. So Oddie lands a Q. Is he going to go for it?
Yeah, Humanoid actually just bouncing over the wall there. Meant enough space was bought in order to lock down that turret. And now they're just going to brute force. Humanoid once again is in. That's the QR combo onto Seiya down to half health. Cannon Barrage is in now as well, but it's not quite enough. Great knock up. That's going to grab Slow for the first kill. Immediately Seiya follows up as Vizicsacsi gets a huge wallop onto 2. Warangelus, you can't killer instinct your way out of this one. He goes golden to see the rip for a little while longer without the black and white, but it is going to have to come through. The Nexus turrets are next, and Splyce will be 2-0 here at the World's Play-Ins.
And questions were there, but such a dominant performance against both of their opponents. DenFM and Isurus fall to the wayside here. And in very commanding fashion. Absolutely nothing in terms of opportunities given away there, but yeah, Splyce coming out today. 2-0 start is exactly where you want to be as the European representatives in Group B, and that's a fantastic start to Worlds.
Yep, really nicely done. Much cleaner as well. I feel like, you know, Splyce are a team that can cleanly play the macro game, but we didn't see it as much in their last one. I mean, DenFM had their weird mishap when it came to the draft, things like that, but even then there were some weird opportunities that they managed to find stuff. This game was, there was one moment when a Gangplank survived, and that's the closest thing to a mistake that we have. Otherwise, very clean play here from Splyce, showing us the power of Europe, the only team on day number 1 to go 2-0. When we weren't necessarily expecting results like that. Group A, of course, very interesting.
And I think I like the way that they did it in their fashion. Like super team fight League of Legends, eventually when it came down to it, like that was a slow game, hit Baron, just end the Nexus on that one singular push. They went the entire ring of the base, bot all the way to top side, just breaking everything, and uncomfortable champions, right? Like the GP Gnar matchup, contentious. Vizicsacsi, yes, he got solo kill, but the bounce back, huge performance. The one member with the big play to kind of defend against the Baron buff. I really like the way that they played with around like the Gnar and Rakan multiple times over the course of this game. Norskeren, I think, reasonable performance here. And yeah, across the board, this is just a good looking team. Like as boring as that sounds, like they've just looked good. Like hands out, better than their opponents. They play their style. And that's 2-0.
Yeah, I think the really interesting thing here is I'm trying to think about who I would give player of the game to, right? If I was going to for this game. And honestly, it's a really difficult question.
Yeah.
Because when you've got everyone playing really well and cohesively as a unit, it's like you want to give it to a coach or something like that. It's like, who taught them how to do this, right? Like, but I kind of want to give it to Chachi.
Yeah, the bounce
Managing
back.
to turn around a matchup like that when he hasn't been a player necessarily known for those sort of reactions in sticky situations, I think is worthy of that. So really great to see that from Chachi, especially when he's a man that's worked so hard to get here to Worlds and has finally done it and has gone 2-0 the first time of asking. Really, really clean stuff.
Yeah, certainly. That's exactly what you want to see. But like other members as well, like Kobbe, like Jake described him as unassuming in the way they play the game, the way they get to team fights. That was exactly it. You're looking at the laning phase, it's like, oh man, there's so much jungle pressure. Is a Lee Sin Q gonna land? Like, oh my god, Vizicsacsi got solo killed. Kobbe's just like, I have a 50 CS lead, by the way.
Things are actually fine.
You want me to right click? Like I can right click, that's fine. There's like multiple different ways in which Splyce just handily like took over that game, and yeah, you have to respect it.
Yep, that's exactly right. But Splyce went 2-0 on the day. And for more, let's hear from Kobbe, so let's throw it over to Dracos.
Thank you very much, Atlas. I am, of course, joined by Kobbe. It's this commanding day for Splyce. From start to finish, it felt like you guys were in total control. Now, looking ahead, you've beaten both your opponents. Is it safe for European fans now to expect the 4-0 when we move to day 3?
I mean, of course, nothing is safe, but I think we can easily get the 4-0, and that's what we're looking for too. So, yeah, I mean, this game went a bit longer than the first one because I did a few mistakes, and we did a few mistakes as a team, but I'm not too worried because I feel like we're just much better than these teams, like already from laning phase, and it's, yeah, we should get 4-0.
When you talk about that difference and that discrepancy in skill, is that individually, mechanically, or is that things like how you move around the map, strategy in terms of how you play the game, read on the patch? What actually separates you from the teams that you're playing against?
I mean, generally early game, or it's not like you're just 10 times better in lane like in the old days, I think. It's more just like how you manage the wave, how you work with your jungler. And of course, I think there's some skill discrepancy as well in most of the lanes. And yeah, I think mid-game we're also just, I mean, it's easy to say when you get ahead and we get early leads, but I feel like we're able to play the game well and most of the time. So it's a bit of everything, I guess.
So looking forward, a lot of teams you could potentially face if you are able to make it to the best of 5s to fight to qualify for the group stage. Who do you think is the biggest threat, the biggest competition that you do have your eye on at the moment?
I mean, we only saw 2 of the groups playing so far, so I think the only team is like Demon is the biggest threat for sure, but if we get first seed, we shouldn't run into them. And then I don't really mind too much who we play against after, because I feel like whoever else there is, we should be able to beat in the best of 5, otherwise we don't really deserve to be at group stage. So.
All right, as a final question, a lot of fans are kind of putting Splyce in a tier below the likes of Fnatic and G2. I kind of wanted to get your take on that perception. Where do you see Splyce in terms of European representatives? Are you much closer to G2 and Fnatic than people expect? Are people overrating those teams? What's your take on it?
I don't think people overrate Fnatic and G2. I think they're really good teams, and we're like trying to get to their level. And I think on our best days, we can play just as well as Fnatic, for example. But it's just about doing it more. And like we basically did a lot of work on our mid game, which shows in some of our games that we can actually play faster. It's just about doing it more and more, so to say. But I think we just have a lot of room to surprise, since there's not as big expectation on us compared to Fnatic G2. But I think we can do really well too.
All right, well, I'm excited to see how far you can go in the tournament. For now, 2-0 is a damn good start to your first day. We're going to send it over to World's Cooldown to further break down the day.